From the Watergate building in Washington, this is Hotline TV. Now, here's Hotline editor, John Mercurio.
Welcome to Hotline TV. I'm Amy Walter.
And I'm John Mercurio. Earlier this week, Mike Bloomberg declared his independence from the Republican Party, setting off speculation that he's gearing up for a White House run. Amy Walter, if Bloomberg runs, who do you think should be the most concerned in the 2008 field?
Well, in the 2008 field, because I thought you meant who in the general would have to be concerned, because then it's, I would say, voters who are going to have to endure $1 billion worth of TV ads. Do we even know what that means?
That's a very good
That's
point.
a lot of TV.
Most of it geared towards those
swing states.
Those swing states,
I would leave there. All right. So the obvious is Rudy Giuliani. And we're going to talk about this soon. But the 9/11 image is Rudy. Right. That's all he's sort of got left. And once that's gone.
The irony of the fact that Bloomberg never would have been elected mayor. He was about 12 points behind in the polls right before he was elected in 2001. 9/11 happens. Rudy Giuliani becomes the kingmaker in New York City politically, gets Bloomberg elected. Now, he's come back to butt him.
Wait a minute. Yeah. So that's not good.
So that's not good. I think on the Republican side that's true, and I think that can hurt. Interestingly, even though he wouldn't face Giuliani if he runs as an independent until the general election, this hurts Giuliani in the primary.
Right.
This hurts his overall image, like we've been talking about.
It just goes and reinforces that. All right, on the D side, any other
R's?
people?
No, I'd have to say on the D side, I think Barack Obama, more than anybody, more than Hillary, who's never going to appeal in the same way that Obama does to sort of that same sort of core group of post-partisan, independent voter that Bloomberg, I think, also appeals to. So I think Obama, in a general election where Bloomberg's also running, I think really needs to be concerned. It needs to sort of recalibrate his strategy a little bit.
Well, the whole deal, too, because we know we're a week away from the FEC filing, and the fact that this comes out just may serve to freeze New York money for all these candidates that are hoping that they're going to get, one last check. If you're a big donor up there, and maybe you've been sitting on the fence, you're waiting for the right time, or you got close to writing a check for somebody, now you're like, maybe I just hold off a little bit more.
Right.
So this could hurt actually the whole field. Anybody who thinks they're going to raise more money out there.
Right. And all we're doing in the media is sort of helping to perpetuate that freeze, because Bloomberg himself has made it very clear that he has no intention of running at this time.
Well, Bloomberg isn't the only baggage Rudy was carrying around this week. Rudy's South Carolina chair was indicted on federal drug trafficking charges. A story emerged about him ditching the Iraq study group, and news came of Nussel's likely departure to the White House OMB. Nussel, of course, his Iowa campaign chairman. All this can only mean one thing. It's time for another installment of Rough and Rudy.
One of our favorite regular segments. All right, here we have our board. And what we've got is, as Amy just listed, is a list of sort of different developments in the Rudy Giuliani presidential campaign. We want to rank by order of the sort of Gary Hart caught with Donna Rice. That would probably go up here in terms of the worst possible development for the Rudy Giuliani, although he was not in any way found in any similar situation. We should make note of that.
Does he have a boat?
I don't know.
Do we know?
That's
we should find that out.
Question, though. And the bottom being sort of maybe your website breaks down for the afternoon.
Yeah.
Not so big a deal.
All right.
Let's
let's talk about Nussel.
Knuckles, apparently.
Apparently his nickname.
Yes. The things you learn when you read the Des Moines Register.
On the hotline. All right, so where does he fit in all of this?
I think
what do you
ultimately, since he's not leaving in the same way that Tom Ravenel, the South Carolina.
You mean in handcuffs?
He's not leaving in handcuffs. He's not being arrested. He's actually going to Washington to work for the White House, which is a big deal. I think it doesn't hurt him as much. Obviously, Nussel, a very popular Republican in this state, would have been a benefit, I think, to Giuliani overall. Won't be helping the campaign as much. But frankly, I don't think it really hurts Giuliani.
Here's the one thing, though, is that it does go to highlight Rudy's problems in the state, right? That this is a guy who still cannot seem to get his footing, no matter what happens. No matter what, something seems to undermine him in this state.
And where does he go next?
Right.
Like, who does he go to next? I mean, Nussel was a great get for Giuliani.
That's right, and gave him some credibility in the state. And now, he was in Iowa for only the 4th time this week, and instead of being able to talk about fiscal responsibility and his 12 commitments, he's talking about all these other issues.
Right.
And then he also got Yepsen kind of mad. You're not supposed to do that.
Do
not get him mad. You don't make him wait
for 50 minutes.
All right. Iraq Study Group. I think it's obviously right here.
Right.
The story, it is something of a bombshell. The fact that the link now being made by Newsday that his decision, Giuliani's decision to get off of the Iraq study group, driven by his calendar driven by speaking engagements that ultimately netted him what, like $11 million or something like that?
11 or $12 million.
So it just, wow.
And being asked, being given the option, the choice between, being given the choice by James Baker of either attending the meetings, the Iraq Study Group meetings, or dropping off of the committee because, look, they needed people to show up for these important meetings. Giuliani actually chose to get off of the committee because of the group because he would prefer to spend the time traveling around the world raising money for himself. You know, as you said, it really goes to the core of what the Giuliani campaign is. He makes his whole, he sort of bases the whole campaign on the idea that he is strong on national security, strong in the war in Iraq, and his failure to do that because he was out raising money, I think really
that's
goes
a real problem.
I'm actually surprised. I think the story was a little underplayed.
Well, I think I don't think that we're not going
to
to see it in a campaign ad somewhere.
Right.
All right, cocaine manager. I think this refers to Thomas Ravenel, the former state treasurer in South Carolina.
The current, isn't he still state treasurer?
Well, I guess you're right. You still are, but I don't know. When the handcuffs go on, do you lose the title? I don't know.
Right.
So anyway, I think this is, you know, in the grand scheme of things, this is pretty darn low on the list.
Lower than Nussle?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, does it help to have somebody on your campaign team to get hauled away? No. But at the same time, this is not somebody who seemed to be as closely aligned with the with Giuliani personally.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if it's as easy to make that connection. And the other thing too is, you know, I mean, South Carolina, let's see where that plays in the final development, but it is right now shaping up to be a Fred Thompson heavy state.
It definitely is. But look, South Carolina is a place where
he needs to do something.
A lot of help, and he doesn't need news like this coming out. Ravenel's a really famous, a really good name in South Carolina. Having him on board with Giuliani could have been a big deal.
Well, you want to move him up?
I'm going to move him up. I think he's a little bit more damaging than Nussle.
Okay.
I think ultimately the Nussle thing could end up being a benefit to him. You know, he won't be working on his campaign, but he's still an ally in the state, and that's a good thing for him. The Tom Ravenel thing, only bad news.
All right, finally, Bloomberg bid. Whether we think he's going to do it or not, right? Let's just even say he doesn't run, as we just discussed earlier. Just the discussion of the discussion hurts Rudy, right? Because it keeps bringing up everything we just said about undermining him on 9/11, maybe freezing money. Doesn't hurt.
Who's actually been the mayor
That's
of the city
right,
for the past 6 years has actually been in charge of its recovery. Michael Bloomberg right there. All right, from his cameo in Hillary's web video to his upcoming trips to Iowa and New Hampshire, it's clear that Bill Clinton is transitioning into a bigger role in her presidential campaign. Amy, is it the right time to play the Bill card? Is there ever a right time to play the Bill card? I
don't know. I never read that. Maybe there's one of those Poker for Dummies books that I should get about when to play your other cards.
The Bill card, right.
Yeah, for dummies. Look, this is my sense of this, which is the Hillary Clinton campaign, they don't sort of take their chances anywhere, right? They're not going to be sitting on any sort of lead or feel comfortable until they see this thing is put away. And the reality is, in Iowa, it's obviously a wide open race there.
Right.
Any ability for Hillary Clinton to get a bump out of Iowa means that, one, she needs to do better than expected. Two, she needs to vanquish John Edwards. I mean, just get him out of the picture. And if she can do that quickly, much better. And three, to have a fundraising report that really will just go at the contention that there are more than two viable candidates in the race, right? I mean, she really wants to have such a significant showing for her June 30th filing. And finally, it's not like she can't bring him out again, right? I mean, it's not like he only comes out once. It's like Locust or something. He only can come out once and then go back underground.
And, you know, to some extent, it doesn't even really matter if he's out or not. The guy is out. It's sort of an irrelevant question, I think, you know, the Bill card, whether or not the campaign decides to showcase him or not. There's 100%, I think, recognition around this country among likely voters that Hillary Clinton is married to Bill Clinton. And I don't think it matters, frankly, if Hillary Clinton's campaign decides strategically that it's important to bring him out in Iowa or New Hampshire or New York City or Washington or Miami or LA, you know, I think all it can do is help her raise money strategically right now.
Right, so what about the overshadow her? That it goes back to the whole, you know what, she's just not a comfortable campaigner. You know, he's just so much more engaging. Does that stuff start to come up?
That starts to come up, but I think that frankly it has less to do with him and more to do with her right there. It's not even the Bill card right there. It's much more to do with her. And you know, right now, as you just mentioned, the FEC deadline coming up, she needs more than anything to have a strong financial quarter. This isn't necessarily related to the Iowa or the New Hampshire appearances, because that's going to be after the FEC deadline. But what he needs to be doing right now, more than anything, I think, is helping her campaign raise the money. And that's what he does. Right. He raises more than $100,000 at every reception he's been at. It's a big deal. There
we go. And while we're on the subject of using people, President Bush arrives in Alabama today to headline a Friends of Jeff Sessions fundraiser. That's hard to say. Bush is doing this despite the fact that Sessions is leading the opposition to his immigration bill. Is Bush like, you know, that kid in high school that you didn't necessarily really like him that much, but he had a pool and video games, and so
you just kind of went over to his house and everything. Yeah, so Michael Reichbach, wherever you are, I'm sorry. That was a really awful thing that we did to you. I made up a name to protect the innocent.
To protect the innocent. Let's pretend that was his name.
But look, I mean, I think what it does, what we're talking about here is Bush going down to campaign to raise money for Senator Jeff Sessions, not in a competitive race, doesn't really have a strong Democratic challenger yet. What it does is it raises the question about how committed Bush is to getting this immigration bill passed. If you ask him if he's committed, he says absolutely. You see the full force of the White House political machine, such as it is, behind this campaign. And then he does something like this, and what it sends to conservatives like Jeff Sessions, a big, visceral critic of the bill, it sends the message that, look, we can differ with him. We can distance ourselves from this White House. We don't have any reason to obey them. We can do whatever we want. There are no repercussions. He will campaign for us. He will raise money for us. We'll get all the benefits we used to get from being on board with this White House, and really won't suffer any of the consequences.
There's no consequence. And Bush is in a tough place too. I mean, there's one side of him that says, okay, maybe I should here's a place where I'm going to draw my line in the sand, right? This is the one issue that is the most important domestic issue for me to pass. I have very little time left. This is when, if I'm going to sort of put the hammer down, it's here. But the reality is, you know, once he loses conservatives, these are the only people now keeping his approval ratings over 30. And once that goes, there's absolutely nothing left. So he's in the most awful position possible, which is on the one issue that he could get the most support from, even among so many moderate Republicans, and would be a good issue for so many of these moderates to talk about on the campaign trail, which is stem cell research. He vetoes that. And
actually, yeah, exactly. Hurting himself in the process with a popular bill that was passed in the House by a wide margin, not by a veto-proof margin. Hurting himself by vetoing that bill and then getting none of the benefit from conservatives for other priorities.
So see, it's painful. So it's Michael.
It is Michael. Yeah, it is Michael. Wherever you are, give me a call. Let's talk. All right, there's the 2-minute warnings. Lush-locked Senate prankster Ben Nelson injected a little frivolity into the Nebraska congressional delegation's weekly breakfasts on Wednesday, presenting a chart to his colleagues depicting the follicle distribution of the delegation. We cannot make this stuff up, people. This is true. Can Nelson get away with this kind of
it's something else. You know, when you look like the dad from Wonder Years, you know, sky's the limit.
Yeah,
that's what I say.
It's so true. All right, earlier this week, Mike Huckabee announced that he'd received the endorsement from the Homeschool Defense Association. Amy Walter, does this mean that he actually has the entire spelling bee circuit locked up?
Wow, that's a pretty good one, but I just think it means Rick Santorum's not running for president. Yeah, how about that? So on Father's Day last weekend, First Lady Laura Bush gave her husband several ties she purchased during the recent trip to Europe. Am I late to the party, or isn't Father's Day one of those kid-oriented things?
Oh, and now I'm supposed to feel guilty because I didn't get my dad a gift. Yeah. Thanks, Amy. It's really, really nice.
All right.
All right, even though some of its scenes were shot in the mayor's office, Don Wright, the former mayor of Gallatin, Texas, did not attend the premiere of Thong Girl 3, Revenge of the Dark Widow. I actually don't even really have a question. I just wanted to say Thong Girl on TV. Yeah. All right.
You make me uncomfortable.
All right.
Sopranos actor Vince Curatola, who made a cameo in Senator Hillary Clinton's campaign song announcement video, said neither HRC nor the ex-president were naturals in front of the camera. Does this surprise you, John?
Yeah, it does actually. I mean, I really thought that